Dear ladies, please give a warm welcome to the founder of WIN, Kristin Engvig.
Thank you. I hope, do you hear me well from here? Yeah. Good. I was just, okay, handheld. This is better, I think. Anyway, welcome everybody to Women, A Force for Good, the 27th Global WINConference. Thank you. Wow. I was just sharing with a friend who came the very first time, and we almost got touched thinking that 27 years of advancing women and connecting and inspiring women worldwide. So thank you for making this a priority and joining us here today. And you are the committed ones. And doing this event, in this time where the feminine, where collaboration, where caring and sharing is almost out of fashion, or it's not, but it's certainly a high stake of what's going on. And we have to take a big stand for these values. And I'm so proud to look at all of you and see so many different people. I know we have a lot of nationalities here, many different professions, many different age groups, and I thank you again for coming. And I will say a lot more, but before that, as the tradition here at WIN, almost like a ritual, we like to start with some music. And no less than here in Italy, we like to have some arias, Puccini, and I would like to ask our singer here today, Jonna Pushkova. Can you please join us, please? Oh, there too. Yeah, here. And the piano also. Piano too. Thank you, Sofia, Juneva. Thank you, Alessandra. Yeah, thank you so much. We'll hear some more from them in a little moment. Wow. Yeah, so just a few more words from me here also. So again, I want to thank you for coming. You know, so many times we sit at home or we are in the office and we have an opportunity to go somewhere and we don't always do it. So those of you that did, I again want to applaud you for that and thank you for making this a choice. So we are going to be together for 3 days, even 4, and some of you came yesterday, which is 5 days. Wow. So today we are having this big picture day. We're going to look at what's going on in the world from some different perspectives. Security, gender gap, media, space. So this is going to be exciting. We're also going to hear some stories about exceptional women who are really a force for good, which all of you are. Even when you don't think you are, I'm sure you are. And tomorrow we'll look more into the company of the future. We'll look at what would the ideal company look like and be like. What if we can really dream it up and make it happen? And then we look also at our careers and our leadership. What if I had my ideal job situation? What would that be like, feel like, and look like? And then we move on to Friday, where we look even more inside of ourselves. How can I make sure I realize myself that my purpose is what I actually do and who I actually am? And we'll continue with workshops and explore so that we can realize ourselves in what we do in the world, in the workplace, and within our lives. And together, because it's the together also that's so important now that we know and we share how to collaborate. So there are a few things I ask you to join me in doing here at WIN. And one of the biggest requests is really that of being exceptionally open. So when we are together, we come from many different places. We have a friend from Bolivia, Burundi, Sweden, Turkey, America, UK, Senegal, China, Italy. You know, many, many different nationalities. Many of you are global. You lived in 3, 4 different countries. You don't even know where you come from. But and so that means also we have sometimes some different value references. But since you made it here, it also means that you're a relatively curious person with an open outlook. So I ask you to continue to be open. Some people will speak with, and everybody has an accent, so you'll hear different accents spoken here. So also those of you who speak very fast, maybe it's time to slow down, so make sure everybody understands. A lot of people don't have English as their first language here, so that's also something to think about. But also when you hear a strange accent, maybe it's not strange, it's just different. Or when you hear an idea that's a little bit outside of what you normally think like and think on, maybe you can consider that that is interesting before judging it. So part of being open is part of catching ourselves in judging. You know, everybody says this phrase, stop judging, suspend judgment. No, it's not so easy. We all do sometimes judge ourselves, and our job is to catch ourselves. So one of the big exercises we can do when we're here together, besides learning, workshop, sharing, is also to have this awareness on, when am I judging another woman here, or the few gentlemen in the room? And also, am I judging myself? No? So this is also, am I good enough, or maybe I'm too much? And you know, all of these things. So we want also to exercise ourselves in acceptance. So that brings me to this thing of acceptance, that now we are here. So when you first made this choice of coming, let all the other options you have in your life, let that rest. You know, I'm sure you got somebody to take care of your dog, your children, your grandparents, whatever it is. But now we are here, so we want to be present to that and accept that this is the choice you made and this is going to be fabulous. So be open and accept. Also, when we are here, make an extra effort to sit near somebody you haven't met before. So maybe somebody new, or just go to a table where your feet brings you. And talk, so be ready to connect. And contribute is our third sort of way here at WIN. Just share, not only about work, but also your passions, what's make you light up. And also, if you speak to somebody and you see they light up about a topic. So let's say I speak to her and she talks about her new project in, I don't know where, in Saudi Arabia, and I see she's lighting up, I let her talk more. So we are giving and sharing as an act of generosity. So what we can call networking is not only about I have a thing that I want to sell or buy, but it's also this generous exchange of lifting people up and noticing when the other is there. And also when we are here in these days together, I'll ask you to take risk. And by taking risk, I mean, let's say you will have 4 workshops and you have to choose one. And maybe there is one that's very safe for you to go to, but maybe one feels a bit more, maybe it's not really you, but maybe it is, but it feels a bit risky. Go there. That's the one you choose. Or share a dream you have or something that you have been a bit careful about sharing. But this is the space where you share it. And even if you're shy, you don't need to meet everybody in this room. It's enough to meet just a few, because we also want to have good quality relationships. You don't need to know thousands of people on the surface. It's good to know a few very good people. So also take attention to that. Another thing, in addition to taking risk, here at WIN we also say, be a committer. I already complimented all of you for being committers, because you committed to come here, and you didn't deviate. This year we saw in the organizing of WIN, many people changed their mind, they canceled, they came. I mean, the year was a year of changing people's mind. It's crazy. So you guys are solid. And being a solid committer is very important. Not only does it give clarity in your life, you committed to come here, it's clear. Then all other options come, but you have made something. And it's peace of mind. Also, you become solid for others. Someone told me the other day, I love that WIN is happening. It's like a reference for me. It feels solid that it's there. So there's something about being a committer. You commit. Also, when you promise something to someone, you commit it. Then, though, there is the next thing here at WIN, which is never accept unacceptable behavior. So we learn as women and the men in the room to set boundaries and make sure we never accept unacceptable behavior. There's a lot of abuse on women, and it's from the smallest to the biggest, and it's a lot. 1/3 of every woman has experienced abuse. So that's also something to exercise, setting limits, setting boundaries, and help each other, uplifting each other, because the shame from abuse is also horrible. So yes, we commit, but if the commitment is not healthy, we get out. Yeah. So I said, be open, be quick to connect, ready to contribute, take some risk, commit, but never accept unacceptable behavior. And I can guarantee you, if you follow these little guidelines, you will also have another thing that's guaranteed. You have to expect it, though, and that's to expect magic. If you expect magic, it can happen, guaranteed. So be open to this synchronicity. So WIN is based also on this proposal, or this way that we believe is important now, that if you look at, there is yin, yang, or masculine and feminine. You say the masculine is structure, goal setting, and the feminine is more intuitive, and the more enjoying the journey, not only reaching the goal, and so on and so forth. We'll say we are trying to live this balance here. So yeah, we have scheduled workshop, but perhaps instead of we haven't done the pre-sign up, because we would like you to go where your feet lead you. We like you to meet synchronistically people also, not just based on who you want to see with your mind. So it's both, you do both. But I want you to try to follow this paradigm that's proposed here, so we have a good balance, because that's the magic of life also. And when we feel the magic of life, we feel more alive. And when we feel more alive, we have more energy to pursue our dreams and make that happen. So this is sort of some of the guidelines of how we stay together. And also, if you're outside and you see someone standing alone, go and talk to them. And if you don't want to talk to somebody, you just say that very clearly and neatly also. So I just want to share, this is some of the structure of WIN, the world, work, you, how we connect with each other. So, and this year, women as a force for good. I'm not the only one that read the news. Well, I don't actually read so much the news anymore because it's depressing. Just skimming through so I know what's happening. But we do know that there is another way that needs to come alive, which is also what the majority of all the humans would like. The power of coming together and the power also WIN is in each and every one of you. And it is in the fact that together we can create that change that's needed. And there is no other, we are not powerless, because each person here knows a lot of other people again. And even the resonance that comes from a committed group of people who really, really commit to that is so strong too, that that will resonate out to everybody. And in fact, talking about being alive and shining, I like that each and every one of you think of yourself as a shining star. Yeah, because we are. And also, we can make each other a shining star by looking at each other as knowing that that's what we are. And together, we become this constellation of magical stars. And this constellation of stars is going to light up the world. I know I'm a little bit utopian, but why not? Because that other way doesn't work either. So if you think of that, and sometimes stars are on planets are in retrograde, and sometimes they go forward. So there are all possibilities here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to WIN, to women, a force for good. And I also thank the men that are here backing women and standing together with all of us, because we need everyone. We need the men, we need the women, the boys, the girls, the older people, and no matter our abilities or pigmentation or passports, it doesn't matter. We need to come together, and that's what we are doing. We are here right now in Rome on this day together. So with that, I would like to ask our musicians to come back again. Can you come and play a bit more for us today? And to welcome and open officially this conference. Thank you. Thank you, Sofia and Alessandra. Grazie, thank you. Thank you. Wow, so we can now say the WINConference 2024 is officially open. Thank you. So we're going to go over into another segment, let's say, where we're going to start looking at the world. What's happening? Where are we? And how can we create a future together? We have put some of these booklets on your table. I don't know if everybody has one, but grab one. If it's not enough to everybody, we can get them to you after. But while we set up the table, while our speakers come and join me here on stage, I'll recommend you go to page, let's say, there is. On the first part of it talks about the networking and the way we connect that I just spoke about. And then we go into page 18, 19, which is something, whether you have the book or your paper, it doesn't matter. But the question is, which is also what we are going to talk about, or speakers will share, is what are some of the major forces happening in the world right now, and how do they make an impact? And according to you. Okay, so I just also lost my page. So some of the questions we put in this book, you can follow them and think about them. What are some of the major global issues, and how ultimately can each and every one of us accelerate another way, a more regenerative, inclusive and feminine way. So take a look, start reflecting, and meanwhile I'll call all our speakers up, Radna, Valentina, Alexandra, and Maria Victoria. Come and join me, please. So give us a few minutes and we will resume. And you can also talk about this to the colleague sitting next to you, so feel free to talk in Basque. Okay, I think. Okay, then look at her for the timing. So she will say 3 more minutes, 1 more minute. Good. Okay, because this is very difficult. Okay. Okay, ladies, we will start again. And so I said I had Valentina, Radna, Maria, Victoria, and Alexandra here. And I will introduce them as they speak, because now we're going to have each of them present different perspectives on what's going on. And today we're going to start with Valentina Boccia. And Valentina, she's an aero engineer. She is working at the European Space Agency, and she was dreaming of the stars since she was a little girl, and she made it her profession. So this is going to be so cool. And she's a program manager at the European Space Agency, and I know you're passionate, and you just came traveling from working in collaboration also with other countries on exactly space. So, wow, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, and good afternoon, everyone. After this beautiful concert, I want to bring you with me on a journey to space, on a space journey down to Earth, as you will see. But before we start, just a few words on what the European Space Agency is, where I work for. ESA, the European Space Agency, is composed by 22 member states for the exploration and use of space for peaceful purposes. The budget for this year, for 2024, was 7.15 billion euros. That means that every European pays every year out of his or her taxes, 16 euros. I think it's good to know where our money goes. These are the 22 member states of the European Space Agency. You can see that there are also some countries that are not part of the European Union, like UK, but still an ESA member state. We also have 4 associate members and some cooperating countries that have cooperation agreements with ESA, like Canada, for example, is a cooperating member of ESA. But ESA locations are actually spread all around the world. We have offices and sites everywhere. We have ground stations with those big antennas downloading data from satellites. We have launches facilities like in Kourou in French Guiana. But okay, I promised you to bring you on a space journey, and so I will do, showing you a video of one of the launches that we had this year, and you will see a rocket, a launcher, that is actually carrying the satellite and is delivering the satellite in space on an orbit around the Earth. And remember that all the videos and images that you will see in this video are actually real. They are taken from actual cameras that are attached on the launcher. I kindly ask to switch off the lights so that people can see it better, please. Thanks a lot. Yeah, also this one. I just want you to get excited about this so that you can have the full experience. It was working before. Well, okay, never mind, we try. Okay, good. This is the launcher.
Some go. EOCS go. Spacon go. Data handling go. Platform go. Payload go. Timeline go. Project rep go. Project support go. Software coordinator go. Software support go. Flight dynamics go. OM go. S-track go. Scheduling
6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
These are real images. This is the Earth. Now the stages get released because the propellant is over.
80 on 35 grand.
Earth care separation confirmed.
And
An
here,
amazing view there on the screen. Successful deployment of the Earth care payload. And
this
with
is
that
the
confirmation, we'll
satellite
be bringing-
that has been released into orbit. And what you see there is the Earth as you would see if you are up in space. Okay, now that we are all up in space, we can start looking at what are the activities that ESA work on. And we start from the exploration of the universe. This is one of the images that was taken by Gaia, that is an ESA mission. And this is an image of our galaxy, the Milky Way, together with some other galaxies that are around the Milky Way, like, for example, the small and large Magellan galaxies that are orbiting the Milky Way. You might know also other space missions like the Hubble telescope. That was a cooperation between NASA and ESA, or the James Webb telescope, that is a collaboration between the NASA, ESA, and the Canadian Space Agency. It's really hard to mention all the international partnerships that we have, because there are really many, as it's really hard to mention all the missions that we have to explore the universe, our solar system, the sun, the planets, the moon. So I go to the next areas of activity, that is the International Space Station, the ISS, that I guess you all know. The International Space Station has modules from USA, Russia, Japan, Canada, and Europe, in one of the largest partnerships in the history of science. There are crews of astronauts conducting research into life and physical sciences and applications up there, all the time. This is the last astronaut class, where you can see Samantha Cristoforetti up there. And I want to show you now what's the new ESA astronaut class that was selected 2 years ago in 2022. And you can see that we have 2 women out of 5. I think it's not too bad. I think we are going the right direction. And the situation gets even better when we see the astronauts reserve. That means that they are astronauts that has been selected for future flight opportunities. Keep in mind that these people have been selected out of more than 22,000 of applications from all the ESA member states. And here we have 6 women out of 12. So basically half of them is women. I think it's pretty good. Okay, this is an image of the Earth as taken by the International Space Station, as if you are an astronaut up there, and this is the ESA patch floating around. But okay, I promised you to bring you on a space journey down to Earth. And so I want to show you what I do at the European Space Agency. I use satellites flying into space to look down at the Earth, at our planet. And I want to show you why with another video. So I ask the lights again. Thank you. So, as you might have understood, ESA, with its Earth observation satellites, supports citizens on the Earth, contributes to fight climate change, contributes to the European Green Deal, earth science, weather forecasting, supporting agriculture, fisheries, management of resources, monitoring air pollution, security, and so on. We support major international and European policy frameworks like the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, the European Green Deal, and all the policies and strategies that are related to that. Basically, the data that ESA provides with its satellites are a tool for politicians and decision makers to take conscious decisions, actionable decisions, and also a tool to monitor the actual results, the actual outcomes of the policies and strategies that they put in place. I also want to mention the International Charter for Space and Major Disasters. Indeed, every time that there is a natural or human-made disaster, the International Charter gets activated. Basically, all these space agencies here have taken the commitment to use their satellites to acquire data over the area on the planet that was hit by the disaster. And these data are crucial for civil protection, for UN agencies, for humanitarian aid, in order to give help to the people that have been impacted by the disaster. ESA is a co-founder, a major player of the International Charter, and it's operational 24 hours, 7 days per week at ESA, with more or less 40 activations per year, with some peaks, of course. And more than 80 national users from over 80 countries can request data from the Charter. This is an example of how space data were used for the floods that we had in Italy in May last year. You can see the flooded areas from the data. Also, we foster commercial innovation by supporting the process from R&D into new startups and commercial space applications. We support the scale-up and growth for European companies on the market. We support the access to finance of European companies through the ESA Investor Network. And also we have set up the ESA Commercialization Gateway that is an entry point to all ESA commercialization services and programs and a knowledge hub for the space and non-space markets. I thought it was important to mention that in case someone is interested, let's say, in making business with ESA for the benefit of citizens. And now, before concluding, just a few words on what are the key areas for the future. ESA is focused on establishing partnerships with the key organizations in these three areas, that is, space for a green future, using space-based technology to reach carbon neutrality by 2050, rapid and resilient crisis response, to use space-based technology to have a rapid and resilient response to crisis on Earth, and protection of space assets. So that means a timely and accurate warning of space hazard, like, for example, an asteroid that could potentially impact the surface of the Earth, or the debris that could destroy our satellites. And so these are the priorities for next year, for 2025, and I just want to mention the first three, that is strengthening the relationships between ESA and the European Union, boost commercialization for a green and digital Europe, and strengthening space for safety and security. If you want to know more, of course, you are more than welcome to visit our website and all the social channels where ESA is very active on. And before I thank you for your attention, I want to remind that from space, we see no borders between countries. We only see one single planet, our planet, the Earth. Looking from up there, it is clear that we are all brothers and sisters, sharing this unique piece of land, while traveling together throughout the universe. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina. Well, that last quote's so beautiful, to remind ourselves about that. I mean, we're just on this planet together. Also, thank you for working in this field yourself and making sure that women are decision makers. What is one priority you think is important that the space agency or the entire space industry is doing right now? Of all the things you mentioned, what do you think is one that's important to you?
Yeah, I think really fighting climate change and protecting the environment is one of our major priorities at the moment. And I think that the data we collect are really important. And I really see a big commitment from several companies and agencies into that. And so I think this is a really global effort. And personally, I'm really happy about that. And I'm really happy to work in this sector with this goal in mind.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
There was one thing she mentioned is like in the space agency, we look out at the space, we look at all the planets and so on. And then she said, now in my job, she said, I'm looking at what the satellites are seeing on our planet. And perhaps that's also interesting for us. We are here looking out at the other, but what is the other seeing about us? You know, interesting information we can gather, I'm sure. Thank you for sharing that perspective, that we are always looking out and being seen at the same time. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Maria Victoria Montalvo. She's currently Deputy Director of Security Division at the World Food Programme of the United Nations. She's worked in security for many years in several UN agencies. She has a degree in international relations, but also in criminology. So we are very curious to hear what she has to say about security in this moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's true, we have one planet, and I wanted to come back to Earth after our space travel. That was very refreshing because I work with really the deep field. I work in WFP, the World Food Organization, for humanitarian assistance, and it is one of the 54 agencies working for the UN under one umbrella of security risk management. I didn't want to bother you or to start a traditional presentation with how the landscape of the global security has transformed, evolved with so many conflicts, with so many crises, with so many depressing news. We used to work in WFP a couple of years ago, numbering the crises, and when I started 7 years ago, we used to work with 3 to 5 crisis at the same time of big crisis. Now we are over 26 active conflicts in the world, and we have decided not to number them anymore, the L3s, the famous L3s. We know that we are confronted at an era where every click can produce a catastrophe. And this was not only by the decisions that can be produced with a click, but also we have seen some technology use lately that has shown that there is no limit. So the traditional world, where the interconnection is so important and the information actually is one of our biggest values and biggest strength, is also one of our biggest weaknesses. So traditional security has been challenged, and the world needed to evolve and change paradigms in order to solve and to balance what we need to do. In the UN, we are not addressing the threats by controlling them, but by managing them. And what does it mean? We are not necessarily responsible for the criminality, for example. We need to manage and make sure that our programs are delivered despite the criminality. And we are responsible for people, for programs, and for assets. And this little image shows our approach, or my personal approach. It is a big fish with the curiosity to apprehend the world, because we need to be curious and we need to make magic happen. And when we are confronted with so many crises, so many threats, so many incidents that are happening constantly, daily, to our colleagues, to our assets, to our premises, we have two options. One is to stay and to bunkerize and not to deliver and not to support. The other one is to take action and to eat the big elephant by small pieces. So we have decided to eat the elephant by small pieces. We have engaged in a massive duty of care activities in order to mainstream our constituencies and our principles to align with what the rest of the UN is doing and the rest of the humanitarian is doing. One of the examples is the Women's Security Awareness Training. In the training, we try to inform colleagues about the risks. This is a tailor-made training, and we help you to identify and to be aware about the information that has or may have direct impact on your surroundings. For example, do you know here where are your exit rooms? Do you know here, have you checked what are how you would exit if there is something that would happen, a fire could happen? Have you checked that your purses and your items are not unattended? This is a country where the risk is probably not high, but bad things can happen. And normally it happens when we are the weakest link. So we often say you don't need to run faster than the lion, you just need to run faster than your neighbor. So we need to be quicker than the rest. This is the Women Awareness Training that goes also on identifying some weaknesses and threats that are particular for women. For example, going to the restroom in a mission. And sometimes it may seem like very benign or very small thing. When you are 7 hours in an armored car where you cannot get down to use the bush toilet, what do you do? How do you behave? All these things are important because our colleagues are daily in that kind of environments. And many people are needed to work and accept those conditions. How do you prepare a mission? Starting from getting mentally prepared, informing your colleagues. Just before coming, some colleague was telling me, I'm going to the Sahel soon, but I haven't told my husband where I am going. I don't want to make him worried or concerned. So how do we prepare our families? How do we inform our colleagues? What is the body system that we are using when we are traveling? These are the little things that can help you and can tailor it. How do you behave in an incident when you are shot at the car? How do you behave if you are taken or you have a checkpoint and you are carjacked? How do you behave when you need to survive an incident of a hostage, for example? And these are things that need to be adapted at every location. They are context-based, for sure. They need to be tailored for the profile that you have, the age that you have, the origins, the function, the mission. Everything needs to be considered, and that is why we say that we are putting people at the center. Another initiative was really to go into the operational safeguarding. That has been an initiative to focus on many vulnerabilities that people can have, inclusive vulnerabilities that are intersectional because they will not be necessarily the same across the time or the mission or the country. We are trying to empower the bystander approach. We often think about gender-based violence, and we have taught women to change, to improve, to be more aware, to learn self-defense, not to dress like that, to wear the hair like that, to put the hijab this way and not the other way, to wear rings because you need to pretend that you are married and things like that. These are the small tips that we used to do. We have never tackled all the rest. And our male colleagues were often telling us, okay, you have the woman's side for them, but not all of us are perpetrators, right? There is a triad, a triangle in the gender-based violence where we see the victim or the person of concern, the perpetrator, and all of the rest. And we are all of the rest. And we are the majority. And we have this strength to act, to recognize, to be aware about not accepting unacceptable behavior, but also at diverting, identifying, and responding according to our abilities, according to our resources, but we are all responsible to that. So empowering the bystander has been one of our main tasks now. It has started with security, then we are going to also inform management, and there are some functions, specific functions within the UN that have been very much engaged, and we are making sure that partners, families, and implementing partners are also involved on the training initiatives. I would like to show you briefly a video of this.
I was telling Priyanka about Jonas. How would you describe him?
Well, Jonas, he's efficient.
Caroline, have some fun.
Who's that young lady with him?
Oh, that's Caroline. She's new in admin.
All these boys are going to be coming for you. But don't worry. I'll protect you.
She's young. She's on our staff. You're the leader we will grow up to be someday.
This is the party at the guest house.
Yeah.
My niece Caroline, she told me about it.
I'll look for her.
You've destroyed my family. All the guys are blowing off steam from all the stress of the convoy attack.
So, apologize for the strength of the video, and I'm going to bring you even more to the reality, because I would like, initially when Kristen invited me here, I said, okay, I can do a presentation. We thought even we could do a woman's set and we could train some of you. But then I had to go to Gaza. So I'm here to talk also and to share two stories about my trip in Gaza. And I want to mention that the Gaza conflict is a hyper-politicized conflict, and I want to get away of all the politics of the conflict, and I want to pay respect to both sides that have lost lives and have been suffering. This is the main objective of what I can share with you. As a criminologist, I was lucky to have the opportunity to see one of the Israeli hostages that was released. And she shared something very, very strong about her situation there. She was, of course, taken and shot at the arm, where the arm was lingering basically on the floor. She thought she could have lost the arm. They pushed her, they took her in a very dark piece. They never fed her. They fed her with raw bread. She used to keep some of the bread on the mouth because she was not sure how she was going to be fed or have anything to eat on the next day. And she was not raped. She was not raped because on the next room it was the wife of the perpetrator and the kids. And one of the kids was sick, and she had something on her that helped the kid. So she provided some pills or some throat painkiller or something like that, and that protected her somehow from being raped on the next room. But what really, it's not the first victim from hostage that I have debriefed, and something that struck me really is how she was concerned afterwards for the rest of the hostage still in captivity, for the family that she was terribly making suffer, and for the rest of the humanity that was not seeing the conflict from a human perspective. Interestingly, because that is the most, we call hostages like the death in suspense, because you have a moment where you are so trapped and so, even when you are shot is I wouldn't say better, but it has a moment, and being taken hostage is something that affects different layers. And she was able to recognize the humanity, and it was not necessarily the Stockholm Syndrome, because it was far from that, but she was able to recognize the humanity and to feel empathy. And I think that if such a person can feel empathy and can have peace on her own after such a tragedy, we should have an obligation to be more empathic, more courageous. And I want to share another story also. Something that shocked me a lot was seeing kids in the streets in Gaza. Huge amounts of kids without food, of course, without any kind of solution, without any perspective. And first, they smile you, they waved you, they send you hearts, and then if you stop, they said, give me cigarettes, give me cigarettes. A cigarette there costs $60, one cigarette, because they are smuggled. So they need to sell cigarettes to continue, live, and to exchange for something else. Give me cigarettes. When you cannot do, you don't have cigarettes and you cannot do, then they say, I will kill you. Or they will say, I will rape you. Kids that they cannot stand at the window. How have we managed to undermine a whole generation? Kids, 5, 6 years. On the other side, I'm going to another good experience is that I told you that when we are preparing convoys and we are preparing the trips, we recommend not to engage, beware of the consequences. If you give something to someone, then you will have the full crowd come in. So we have very strict rules. Deputy security on the convoy had some water, and I couldn't resist the kids there claiming for water. So I said to my team, can we give them like bottles? They're half bottles of water, but there are 6 kids. Maybe they can have some water and it will be enough. They said, no, Maria, because you will have thousands coming. If you give them, if you open, it's not safe, it's not secure. I said, maybe we park there and we can give them some. So we parked there and we said, okay, you know what? We have the 3 bottles, you're 6, you have that, but you run and you don't come back and you get away and you get out. We needed to wait for the checkpoint. And then we, of course, see what? The 6 kids coming back. And I said, no, I was told not to do it, I know. I said, no, there is no more water, no more water. They were bringing dates for us. So in the middle of all that, in the middle of all the sufferance, in the middle of all the pain and the disaster and nothing, there is something. Magic is there. Magic is there. This is the state of the houses. This is where they are. And that was my bed, actually. And I took a picture because later I found out that this was the only bed sheet that was sold in Gaza, or sold or available in Gaza. And they're the same bed sheets that were found on the eye of the tunnels. So the eye of the tunnels of Hamas are taking beds of girls and kids to open and commit horrible crimes. So, I wanted to finish with a story of hope, because I think we are all here because we believe, we are committed, and because we can shy, and I think we are the majority of good people, of goodwill, and we have all different strengths that we can put in favor of the good, for the good. So I will end here.
Thank you, Maria Victoria, also for going out there, being in the middle of these situations. It's not easy, and for sharing this human approach, because that's what we need. And we would like to have that workshop another time where we also can learn practical things as a woman today, wherever we go, to feel safe, you know. So, but thank you. Wow, it's an amazing place. We get the fresh information from the places where it's, thank you. Aradna. Yeah. So Aradna, I met her 20 years ago. Was it 20 years ago? Yeah, 20 years ago, in Lausanne. She was for a brief moment in our office, and we had many good conversations. And one thing I learned from her that I keep doing, every time I write a newsletter or a letter, I sign it with love and courage, which we see Maria Victoria is demonstrating for us also. And with that idea, I always sign love and courage. And it was after the conversation with Aradna. She did her MBA in EHL, in the hotel management school. She's a thought leader today. She's the CEO of Optimind company, and travels a lot in Saudi Arabia, you know, and all over the place. And you're on boards and much great things. So we want to hear from you, please.
I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to speak after that. Still a bit shaken and stirred, as they say, like James Bond, perhaps, but here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, please lower your shoulder restraint. Keep your hands and feet in. And if you are on an anti-anxiety prescription, now would be a time to take that pill. If you've done all of that, buckle up and get ready for a wild ride, because I have to confess, When I finish speaking, there are two outcomes. Either it's a standing ovation, or more likely, I leave people slightly smoldering. I'm not sure which one this is going to be. We shall see. But before I start, can I just say I am so happy to be back in Rome. It's my absolute favorite city, well, one of my favorite cities. You have breathtaking scenery, rich history, and you are at a conference for women, by women, talking about women in leadership, and you also have the best food, so it can't get better than that. Delighted to be back, really. I think it's also fitting that I'm speaking about health and wellness gap, which is holding her back today, because believe it or not, ancient Rome was a pioneer in that field of health and wellness for women. So there were physicians like Soranus of Ephesus who were already making groundbreaking inventions in gynecology and reproductive health for women thousands of years ago. And then what happened? And then the progress completely stalled. So over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to dig a bit deeper into these topics, a lot of which is going to be extremely uncomfortable because I'm going to be talking about period pain, hormones, menopause, clitoris, vagina. Because clearly, as you can imagine, we have quite a bit of catching up to do since the Roman Empire. Bear with me, please. Bear with me, please, especially the gentlemen, the very brave gentlemen we have in our audience. Please, sir, I know you're uncomfortably shifting in your seat and probably wanting to leave the room at this point in time, but please do not feel alone. Because guess what? Forget about talking about these uncomfortable things. There is tons of research which actually proves that a lot of women don't even look at ourselves below the waist. So forget about talking. And this discomfort with all things female is exactly why I'm on stage today. Earlier this morning, I was thinking what could be one word that could summarize my intervention at the conference. And the word that came to mind was gaslighting. Gaslighting in relation to women's health and well-being is now mainstream. There are stories abound of women struggling with neglect and not being believed by their doctors. And when your doctors and society doubt your symptoms, when they play it down or question it, we are in for a bombshell of accumulating problems, and that's exactly what gaslighting is. Time for audience engagement. Let me ask the women in the room. How many of us can relate to being either at the doctor's office or discussing issues with your besties, your friends, family, where you have raised a concern but are instead told, well, you look like you're doing great. Thank you very much. I think what it is you need a lot more sleep. Keep exercising, do yoga, and definitely try meditation. I don't think you're at a point where you need medication, but anyhow, you know that it can be addictive, so stay clear of that. I don't think this is a medical pain. I think you're under enormous emotional stress and duress. How's your period? You know that it can influence your mood, your stress levels. So it could be linked to that. What is the real reason for your visit today? And my absolute favorite, eat some chocolates, darling. Have a good cry. And this is absolutely epic. Try drumming. Drumming? You know, for centuries, when a woman was feeling sick, upset, or even slightly irritated, doctors would say, oh, it's hysteria. And the word hysteria is actually Greek origin, and it means uterus. Because obviously, if you have one, you must be crazy, right? And here's another thing to consider. 1 billion women will be menopausal by next year. 1 billion. Think about it, in a population of 8 billion. And until recently, the world was acting like menopause was a myth. Hot flashes, mood swings, sounds like she needs a holiday. As you can tell, I'm Indian origin, and we do maths for fun. Talk about stereotyping. Don't go on judging me now, but now is when I bombard you with some data and stats. And each one of these data points represent how women are less likely to have their pain treated, their symptoms taken seriously, or be given a diagnosis compared to men. And I say each of these data points also represent an opportunity that entrepreneurs, investors, that all of us leaders often neglect because of the way it makes them feel. Think about it. On an average, women get diagnosed later than men in over 700 diseases. Cancer 4.5 years later, diabetes 2.5 years later. 45% of women suffer from specific chronic conditions that can be prevented. 73%, 9 out of 10 women suffer from period pain, yet no localized treatment has ever been developed for it. 73% of women don't treat their menopause symptoms. Think about the repercussions, guys. An average woman is in her 50s by the time she gets to the C-suite. And that's exactly when menopause hits. And woohoo, she goes batshit crazy. Or so they say, right? 20 to 30% of women report being dissatisfied with their contraception and stop taking the pill because of concerns either about the side effects or their concerns not being addressed. In fact, the whole contraceptive experience has largely not been innovated upon since the sexual revolution, which, by the way, was a movement of the 1960s and 70s. In fact, there has been such shockingly poor innovation when it comes to female health. The 3 things that we can really be proud of was, number 1, the tampon, which came about in the 1930s. The birth control pill, which came about in the 1950s, and the self-adhesive panty liner, which came about in the 1970s, and that's it. And this is my absolute favorite. The speculum. Exactly, I see so many faces which is, cringing, because that's exactly what we experience. The speculum, which is used even today to look at the cervix when you go to a gynecologist, was first used during the Roman Empire, and it hasn't been revamped in the last 200 years. And if you're wondering why this is the case, why despite all the advancements that we've seen in medicine, why with all the innovation, the brilliant minds working in the medical field, why are we still at a stage where medical centers are so non-women centered, even if the doctors are majority female? And it's all about the money, honey. It's because only 4% of global medical research spending and less than 2.5% of public funding goes towards women's health. Beyond breast cancer, female health concerns garnered just 1% of pharmaceutical research funding, 1% of the overall pharma funding. And despite its rapid growth, only 3% of VC fund goes towards femtech solutions, which are addressing female problems. And can you guess one of the most under-researched areas of women's health? Again, an uncomfortable word for some, the vaginal microbiome. The majority of microbiome research still centers on the gut, with only 2.5% of microbiome studies focusing on the vaginal microbiome, despite the critical role it plays in reproductive health, pregnancy outcomes, and susceptibility to infections, be it bacterial vaginosis or STI, sexually transmitted infections. And guess what? 75% of women will experience a yeast infection at some point in their lives. That's 3 out of 4 of us. No surprises, because in the past, uterus has been referred to as a sewer, a site of disgust and disease, while the clitoris has been deemed a shameful member and the devil's teat. In the 1800s, neurologist Jean-Martin Charcot actually attempted to free women of hysteria, by which I mean the uterus, and he came up with a device which was called the ovary compressor, which did exactly what it said on the tin. Spoiler alert, it didn't win, and it didn't work. But no wonder why everyone is still afraid and hesitant to research the topic, right? Did you know that it was only in 1993 that women were officially allowed to participate in clinical trials? Do you know what that means, guys? It means up until the last 30 years, all of the majority of over-the-counter medication that we use, be it painkillers, anti-inflammatories, they were never designed or tested on women's physiology. For decades, researchers assumed that what's going to work on men is going to work on women. And we've known that women differ from men, be it in prevalence or symptoms and response. PTSD, as an example, occurs twice as more frequently in women than in men. But for years, researchers failed to include women in their research. Why? Because they were afraid that the changing hormones of women is going to muddy and mess up the data. In fact, learning from male bodies is frequently the default in clinical trials even today. So much so that even the lab rat, which is the standard lab rat, is male. Could it be that, forget about women, there is rampant sexism against female mice? You know, I was in medical school before I went on to join the travel, tourism, and hospitality sector. And it was a fantastic, fun discussion that I had with my parents when I told them that's what I wanted to do, my Indian parents, you can imagine. But as students of medicine, as you know, we take what is called the Hippocratic Oath that requires qualifying new medics to swear to uphold professional ethical standards. The Hippocratic Oath, ethical standards. I say the Hippocratic Oath may please be renamed the Hypocritic Oath because of the double standards that we see in gender differences with regards to medicine. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against medics or medicine, and it has made such huge strides and advancements. But the history of medicine is replete with social and cultural significances that may or may not be scientific in nature. And this is where gender disparity comes in, and this is where chauvinism comes in. And medical science cannot absolve itself of its responsibilities, not as long as it's characterized by male domination and female subordination. And you see, this is not new. Even historically, during studies on human anatomy, the female body was always looked upon as defective and incomplete compared to the male body. So much so that Aristotle, way back in 300 BC, described the female body as the inverse of the male body, with the genitalia turned outside in. And the woman's ability to reproduce became the focal point of all of the research. And everything was focused on the uterus because that commanded the only societal and biological respect for a woman. My dear friends, as we speak, the world is going backwards on the long road to economic opportunity and gender equality. We're talking about 134 years to close the gender equality. We're talking about 169 years to close the gender economic gap, and there are many other gaps, like the gap in education, which is going to take 16 years. And let's not even go to the chores gap, because God knows how many years that is going to be. Women are fighting on so many fronts. But could the gender gap be the most dangerous of it all? And I say this not lightly, because think about it. There is a 50% probability that women get misdiagnosed on heart attacks. Globally, 810 pregnant women die every single day of complications which are entirely preventable. And this is highly prevalent in low-income countries. PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, affects 10% of women, 1 in 10 in the reproductive age. My apologies. I'm so sorry. Is this okay? Of course. Thank you for highlighting. That's PCOS. It's the same with endometriosis, which is affecting 1 in 10 women, often going undiagnosed for 7 to 10 years due to lack of awareness. And again, as you can imagine, I keep my favorite things for the end. This is Addyi, which is a woman Viagra pill designed for men, but tested mostly on men. 92% tested on men. Ladies and gentlemen, half the world has a clitoris and a vagina. Why wouldn't doctors study it, and why won't investors invest in it? Why is it okay to say, grow some balls, or have the cojones to make the decision in the boardroom, but not say, my vagina, with the same conviction? Absolutely. Absolutely. There you go. Yes. And funny enough, which reminds me, the only time I saw the word vagina being used in the mainstream media was in the movie Borat, which is very old now. If you remember, where Borat was constantly saying my vagine in his Kazakh accent, even though that was not the right word, but it was the only time where it was used normally as if it's a part of the human body. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not sharing any of this to air grievances or bemoan the crosses that I bear. I share this because we are in a race towards a tomorrow that is not going to look like today. I share this because there are 4 billion reasons to bet on the health and wellness of women. Women are not only 1 out of 2 people. We don't not just make half the planet. We also roughly account for $32 trillion in consumer spend. Which brings me to the end. And all I'm saying today is we need a change. We need a change in women's health. We need a change in mindsets. We need a change in learning. We need a change in behavior. We just need more leaders. And I'm looking at them. We need people with the skill, but more importantly, the will to change things for the better. If we look hard enough, there is light at the end of this darkness. And that light is not the next generation. That light is not tech. That light is not the young children. That light is you. You are all disproportionately powerful, even if you don't know it, even if you don't accept it. Every single one of you is a giant to someone. Start there. Some of you may be bigger giants than others. Some of you may be giants to a lot more people than others. But every single one of you is a giant with disproportionate power and influence. And if you're not a giant yet, let me tell you, you have the potential to be one. My key question to you is, what will you do when it's your turn and when it's your time to lead? Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Aradhna. Very enlightening, and it's just like you said, when it's our turn to lead and to be awake. So it's so good to see the numbers, and it's so good to also internalize the problem. Can you elaborate a little bit more? You mentioned it's not tech, it's not this, it's not that. So what do you do to become, what have you done yourself to become more, catch yourself and you judge these things too? Because it seems to me that women, as you said, are even more medical doctors now, but still nothing's changed. Yeah.
And it's interesting because you started by saying it starts with the self. And that's what it is. Because oftentimes, and it's what you were talking, Maria, that there is 1/3 of the component which is people who are not the victim, not the perpetrator, but the bystanders. And we all have a choice. And the choice starts with really admitting and accepting that I don't have to be just a bystander. I have a role to play, and I can, use that influence to mean anything. It could be a small step, and that doesn't matter. What matters is you take that leap of faith to take that first step.
Thank you so much. Very empowering and, both disturbing and empowering, and that's what it is. So our next speaker here is now Alexandra Pascalido. She's a journalist, she's an author. You are involved in many different things. You are in the theater, you are a media personality, you are on boards, involved with UN Women, Greek and Swedish. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm exhausted. I can't even walk. This is how it is to be a woman. Okay, can you please stand up? Please stand up, all of you. Help me, because I'm freezing in here. Is anybody else freezing? You hear me? I also have an old cold. I'm coughing like I'm dying. I have this cold. And first of all, okay, just raise your hand as much as you can. As much as you can to the sky, and then open up like this, and then turn. And then you just walk to the first person you want and hug that person and say it. Just hug. No, come on, don't be shy. Hug. You can hug too if you want to. That's perfect, because I did it because I also wanted to hug these amazing, these geniuses. I'm full of admiration for you guys. And then before we sit down, because I feel I have no energy, I'm so tired, just start jumping like this, vibrate, like a vibrator, or. Yes, okay, you can dance. We have some belly dancers here from Turkey, I know. Okay, good. And then. Is the mic working? No, because I feel there are more people than me here. And thank you. It was like so interesting. This morning I woke up and my friend posted a picture from when she's in labor, she's giving birth, and she's like screaming and suffering, and she's like, then she wrote a caption where she wrote, "I'm so grateful for this experience because now I finally know how my husband feels when he sneezes." It's all about, yeah. So I've been asked, I was supposed to speak about something else, but Christine is my big role model. Christine, Michelle Pfeiffer, isn't she Michelle Pfeiffer? Yeah. She's more beautiful than Michelle Pfeiffer. She's my role model, so anything she says, I'm like, okay, I'm obeying. So I was supposed to speak about something else. Now I'm speaking about the world and the future. And in fact, I am so angry, I am so frustrated, but I'm standing here and I'm trying to reframe it all and be positive. And I just come from a very, very powerful conference with all the CEOs and the presidents and the ministers from around the world, organized by the New York Times, and I will get to that point. But that conference was like full of men. It looked like totally different. So I feel like I'm at a safe space. So thank you for creating that, because without you, we would not be here. So yes, thank you, Christine, for this, and to everybody working with WIN. So I'm supposed to speak about the world and the future, and being Greek originally, I know everything about the future. I'm prophetic, that's a Greek word. But to understand our future, how do you do this? Hello, space woman. The green, yes. Okay, so to know about the future, we need to know about our past. This is me. I was born in a laundry room in a dictatorship in a third country, in Romania, and I looked like a sausage. Not only was I a girl, a refugee, a poor kid, I had no legs and no hands because they were like treating me like this. And I use this picture only to showcase how girls around the world feel. There are all these tyrannical, fabrics and ways and methods that all these misogynistic methods to make a woman feel exactly like this. So even if I'm here today, like I can jump, I can do things, I feel like this. I feel belittled. Then the first time in a Swedish newspaper, after living with my grandmother in a tiny Greek village, my grandmother Sophia called wisdom. She couldn't write, she couldn't read, she never got the chance to go to school. We left Greece, it was a dictatorship, it was poor, so we went to Sweden. We ended up in the poorest and the worst ghetto, as they called it, and the police came to kick us out. This is another story. I'm not going to, but my family, I have another sister today. My family, they look devastated, but I am posing because I know that one day I will go to Rome and I will show this picture. So you see, I'm like... So this is how the refugees, all these demonized and stigmatized people look like, So after that, I was the first one to do everything in my life. I was the first one to study in a university, first one to do this and that. And why did I do so many things? And this is only a small thing. Why did I do so many things? Because all the time in my life, I find all these closed doors. And I have to kick these doors open. I have to break the windows. And when these doors are totally open, then I'm like, okay, fucker, okay, bye. So I'm building a new house over here. I'm doing theater, okay. And then somebody comes like, oh, she's too radical for this. And then I have to go, okay, I'm writing a book. You know what I mean? And I'm happy because I became successful in everything, but that is only my revenge. To show the others how wrong they are when they discriminate me and when they try to silence me, because this is what I'm here to talk about, the silence, the history of silence. And I know and I can see all of you have been silenced. Everybody has been trying to silence you, but you are the defiant ones. You come here because you don't want to be silenced, and you have found your inner voice, your true voice. And this all goes way back. And since we are in Rome, I love Italy. I want to marry an Italian man. Don't tell anybody. No, I'm kidding. I don't know, but I heard they are like gorgeous. Anyhow, since we are in Rome, we have to honor this place and with this amazing history. And this is Leonardo da Vinci's The Vitruvian Man. Do you know this guy? His address, his number? The Vitruvian Man, he's the standard. He is the norm. You see him? I was telling you, stand like this, like the Vitruvian Man. So we all know, Adam, we all know that the men, the Vitruvian Man, they were the standard. They were the norm. Of course they don't give a penny or whatever I can say about us and our health and our vaginas. They don't care. They care about this guy because he is the norm. So I was like thinking, I made a Vitruvian woman last night when I couldn't sleep, when I had like stomach pain and everything. So I asked AI, I'm not I'm not like a technical person, but I asked AI that I have started to explore it now, and asked them, please, could you give me a Vitruvian woman? And then I had to tell AI, because AI, don't trust AI, they are so biased. They're not feminists, And you know, in the beginning, AI, when they heard black voices, they were like, oh. You know what I mean? So AI, it will take time until AI is totally like open-minded like you. So I told AI that women, we are supposed to be perfect in every way we can. You know, we are supposed to be professionals, great mothers, great chefs in the kitchen, looking good, sexy, strong, heroic, and, you know, show solidarity, everything. So this is the Vitruvian woman. And it's not enough for her to just stand there like this, like any football player in the world. She is so busy. And a couple of years ago, I was like Googling CEO. And the first woman I found back then, this was before the war, was the Barbie, and I knew it. Barbie is the perfect woman. She's always smiling. She has the perfect anatomy. I mean, it's impossible to have that body. But she has this perfect body, always smiling. And the best thing with Barbie, never complains. She doesn't talk, she doesn't speak, she doesn't say anything. She's not, you know, in for a revolution. And then, of course, I have to honor my roots and go back to the ancient Greeks. Because the 12 gods at the Olympus, the Mount Olympus, you know your mythology, I suppose. Okay, Greece gave us misogyny. That means hatred against women, okay? But they also gave us the gods at the Olympus. And look at them, 6 women and 6 men. Can you understand 50% of them were women? I mean, this was gender equality thousands and thousands of years ago, and they were better. It looked better than it does in boardrooms around the world. Can you understand? With quotas and affirmative action back then. And who do you think wrote mythology? Was it a woman? Probably not. It was a man. And what happens in mythology? Oh my God, it looks so good. Why do you think they had gender equality already back then? Of course, the ancient Greeks knew dramaturgy. Would anything funny or interesting happen on Mount Olympus without women? No, it would be so boring. Nothing would happen. So now, if you read your mythology or if you remember it, it's like a soap opera. And the fascinating thing about this, and I thank these ancient misogynistic patriarchal Greeks, because what did they do? They had Athena. She was busy being wise. Okay, only that. She didn't give a shit about anything else. She was not cooking. She was not having kids. She was not doing it. Hera, she was the perfect wife. She was totally jealous all the time, but she didn't do anything else. Okay, Aphrodite, she had sex with everybody. She was like polyamorous. She was cheating on her husband, and she was all for sex and love and everything that was like aphrodisiacs and so on. She did not care. She was not a CEO at, I don't know, any company. You know, she did not want to make a career and so on. So I thank them because they told women back then that you can be great in one single thing. You don't need to be great in everything like we are today, because we are supposed today. So back to what happened after the Greek gods? Yeah, then we got Trump. No, I'm kidding. No, but then we got the Medusa. And this is so interesting how they use the ancient myths and how they were portraying the women in Greek mythology, because all the women, they were very, very problematic, I have to say. They were like stereotypes. You had the Medusa, and she was, of course, the victim, but she was victim-blamed back then. And even today, you know, for the last American elections, they used Hillary Clinton as a Medusa, and the hero was, of course, Trump. And all these stories, there are so many stories. This is another amazing Greek figure, Cassandra. You remember Cassandra? Her second name was unfortunately Alexandra. I feel so bad for her because we have the same name and I recognize. But you know, Apollon, the god of Apollon, the god of light, he fell in love with her. And guess what he gave her? He gave her the gift of prophecy, the gift of foreseeing the future. So she's here with us today, Cassandra. But poor girl, you know what happened to her? When she didn't want to go to bed with Apollon, because Apollon gave her the gift, and he did what many men do. He asked to have sex with her, and she didn't want. And when she denied him sex, you know, the most of the gods, when they were denied sex, they raped their victims anyway. I mean, you have euros? Does anybody have a euro? Are you so poor? You don't have euros? Nobody has euros here. Euros, you don't have euros. You're in Italy. You don't have euros. Okay, if you check your euros, the euros, or Europe, you know who Europe was. Europe was a young girl. She was out with her girlfriends, picking flowers when Zeus raped her. And that's who we have, a rapist on our euros. We have Zeus on our euros, and we call this continent Europe. After that raped girl, can you understand? You don't need to check your euros. I was like going to... Yeah, but you know what I mean? So it's crazy how integrated and how marinated we are in misogyny. You know what I mean? And so Cassandra, she didn't want to have sex with Apollo. So Apollo, what did he do? He did what every single woman in here, in this room, I'm sure that you have felt that. He said, I will not take away your ability, possibility, your gift, your talent to predict the future. You will remain like that. But I will curse you to never, ever be believed by anyone. Never be heard, never be believed. Nobody trusted her. They dismissed everything she said. So she warned about the fall of Troy. She warned Agamemnon about the slaughter that they were going to kill him. She warned everybody about everything, but nobody listened to her. Do you recognize? I recognize that. I've been warning, in TV shows everywhere about the situation the last 30 years when I had the chance to be like in primetime TV. I've been warning about the growing gaps in the world. I've been warning about the segregation. I've been warning about the racism, the sexism, and look where we are, because they don't listen. You know what I mean? And I am sure that many of you have been warning here too. And many of you have been advising and have been trying to change the world for many, many decades. And many of you that are a bit older than I am, you have also made sure and paved the way for people like me to enter these nice rooms, because I was not supposed to be here. A migrant kid from a ghetto, from a violent family, and dysfunctional in every way, abusive. I was not supposed to be here. But thanks to many of you and your work. So back to Cassandra. So Cassandra, poor girl, she was finally kidnapped, raped, and killed, thanks to Agamemnon. And this is what happens because nobody believed her, nobody listens, nobody gave any, her words were not important. And who was this poor girl? This was this? It's her, it's another picture. And the last one, because I could stand here like for a marathon. Last girl, because we are in Rome, is Ovidio's Metamorphoses, the epic, the Roman epic. So Ovidius wrote about Philomela. Of course, she was also a Greek princess, and she was raped by her brother-in-law. So her sister's husband raped her. And what did he do in order to silence her? Because men have been able to silence women through thousands and thousands of years. And this guy, he did it literally. He cut her tongue off so she wouldn't be able to reveal what he did, okay? So then she started waving, how do you say, väva, woven, yeah? Yeah, so she went in a tapestry where she wrote the whole story and gave it to her sister, to Tereus, King Tereus' wife, where she described how he raped her. And that, I think, is really an act of resilience. You know, women always find ways of telling their stories. I don't know if I should tell the whole story. Do you want to know what the sister did? Okay, so the sister said, okay, revenge. And the two of them, they killed the son of the sister. They killed Tereus' son. They cooked him for a meal. They served Tereus. I told you, you don't want to hear the end of the story. It's brutal. It's brutal. Okay, whatever. So this is, so they fed him with his own son. That was very brutal. And then the gods transformed the three of them to nightingales or something. And I'm thinking of Madonna, you know, Virgin Mary. I love Virgin Mary. She's always with me. And I was thinking of her when I wrote my book, my theater play, and when I did my TV show for Swedish National TV about the mothers, because she's one of the most important, iconic women in the world, worldwide, the biggest religion, blah, 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 you know, everything. She gave birth to the biggest religion, to our prophet Jesus and so on. And I have been reading and trying to find quotes because I wanted to start my whole book called The Mothers with a quote from Virgin Mary. Do you think I was able to find a quote? No, because there are no direct quotes. Because the most important women ever in Christianity, she's not really quoted. She's silent, she's compassionate, she does everything. She is like the epitome, the definition of humanity, of love, of everything. She's there the whole way with Jesus, taking care of him, teaching him how to speak, how to behave, how to treat the next person, not to judge, not to fear. She's there until the end. She's the one crying at the cross. And I want to ask you, because very soon Christine will throw me out of this stage, where was the father? Where was the father when when Jesus was hanging on that cross? The mother was there. She was crying and begging and doing everything. But there are almost no quotes in the Bible. And this is exactly what they do. Patriarchy, my friends. Patriarchy. The most important, but no words. Silenced. You know? And this is very, very interesting. So then we had the Me Too. I wrote the first Me Too book in the world within 1 month because I was like, okay, momentum is now. We don't have time to waste. And I knew it because 1 month after Me Too broke globally, what happened? The backlash happened. Everything was our fault. We asked for it. Oh, no. And so on. You know, it was like gaslighting on a global scale. And here is Gaza. Thank you so much for reporting from Gaza. Gaza, I won 1 million Swedish crowns in a TV show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And I gave the money to an organization called Women to Women. So I told them, because I don't trust people, I just want to see what you do. So they sent me to Bosnia, where I met women that were raped during the war. And I went to Gaza and the West Bank. And I can tell you, this is 2015, okay? 2015. And this trip, I have seen much in my life because, as I told you, I had a terrible upbringing. But I have never, ever in my whole life experienced anything like what was happening back then in Gaza and the West Bank. And my friends, this is long before October 7. This was the worst thing I have ever experienced. And the only people I met, because I gave that money, was only women and kids. So I wrote, at the same time I was doing radio and TV in Swedish, in Sweden. So when I came back home, because I was sick, I became sick after all the stories I heard and all the people I met. And I would like to add here, I was of course also in Jerusalem, and I met one of the most impressive projects in my life, and that was like Israeli Jewish mothers and Palestinian mothers that had like their own peace project. But they were also blamed for different things. So when I came back to Sweden, I was carrying all these stories of the kids. This girl, 6 years old, she survived 3 wars and lost all her family. So she was living with her auntie. So I wrote an article for the biggest newspaper in Sweden, and it was an article just naming the kid in a refugee camp. This girl lost her family and the third of them. It was the most boring article I've ever written, because I cleaned out all the blames, everything. I just wrote about kids, and I just wanted to mention that they also have human rights, and they are also children. And they are to be treated like children and not stigmatized and demonized and blamed for being terrorists. They are innocent kids. And before the article was published, I gave it to my boss on Swedish radio to show him, just so you know, I'm just going to publish this. And the boss said, I'm sorry, you cannot publish this. I was like, but there is nothing. No, because you will have a problem. It might be seen as biased, or they might call you anti-Semitic. I was like, why? I don't even mention Israel here. I don't even mention anything. I just mentioned the kids I met. No, we cannot talk about this conflict. We can never, ever mention this specific conflict. It is too infected and too complicated. So I was not allowed to write an article that just pointed out the humanity in the others, in these people that have been suffering, not 1 year, not 10 years, but so much more. And the thing I want all of us to remember here is, we as women, we know what it means to be silenced and victim blamed and shamed. We know too well what that means. And we are the ones who also know how to break these silences. We are the ones that are here to teach the others how to see humanity in the other person. Whoever that is. I did the mothers. These are the mothers that lost kids in shootings. They were portrayed in Sweden as if it was their fault. Nobody cared about other aspects. These were single mothers. This is how to break the chains. And I would like to end with Asata Shakur. You probably know her. I mean these words. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. And it is our duty to win. And we are at the Global WINConference, so it is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other, and we have nothing to lose but our chains. And because my Greeks might be angry, I need to add a man to, I need to quote a man too. A man needs a little madness, or else he never dares cut the rope and be free. This is so be mad, love each other, support each other, and do it all. Go out there and break all the silences and scream as much as you possibly can. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Alexandra. You are certainly a force of nature, my dear. Wow. Thank you for your courage and for your love and perseverance And yeah, I was
Courage. Thank you for saying courage. I just need to say, I put my Instagram there. I'm shadow banned because I have been asking for a for peace and freedom, and I am shadow banned by Meta. Even if I only share sources like New York Times, the Washington Post, the Guardian, Haaretz, and the worst thing I've ever shared is Al Jazeera. And I'm shadow banned like many, many others that share things, and which means that my posts don't appear and people can't see me, not even my friends find me. So it means I have more than 52,000 followers on Instagram only, and I have like suddenly, for the first time in my life, like 200, 300 likes. But that happens to many people, you know. So that's also a bias. That's also something we need to handle. So there are many ways to silence women and girls.
It's so true. Thank you for mentioning that also, and everything you stand for. And I think all of us have had that experience. You post something intelligent on LinkedIn using collaborative language, and it gets like 3 likes. And then you repost something conflictual, and it has like thousands. So, and we have to be very careful with it, in this way also with the AI. The other day I was writing something, and Grammarly, I wrote "and feel," and Grammarly corrected it to "I think." So I thought, oh my God, I'm awake, so I could see it, and I caught it. But how many times don't you use a correction, and you just accept without looking carefully? So we have to look very carefully even there. So, but we have to close this, but I just want to thank all of you for, we have been through an entire travel, starting with space and Valentina, and how the innovations in space can help us now more and more, and how important it is that we don't have bias there, and therefore that we have Valentina there and your female friends alongside with the men, but we have to make sure it's no bias, and how we can see ourselves from out there, and very exciting. And then Aradna sharing also with us the amazing health gap that's out there, and how we, each and all, every one of us needs to wake up to our own power. We can do something, you know. And Maria Victoria, who we also shared, what we have to look out for and the empowerment we have to look ourselves. Where is the security exit? Is my bag, you know, all over the place, somewhere I don't know? And we look forward to the workshop on learning what. And also, thank you for exemplifying through your humanity, also in what you experience on your mission, and for daring to go to all these places as well.
I have one call to action to everybody.
Yeah.
Just to close. I forgot it. You know what? Lysistrate, you know Lysistrate, Aristophanes, you know Aristophanes. You all look so educated here, but Lysistrate, she was like so fed up, so frustrated, so angry with all the men, the toxic masculinity, all the male battles non-stop in ancient Greece. So she's like gathered all the Greek women and is like, okay, let's do it now. We have to change this. We have to break this violence and silence and everything. So they gathered and they went on a sex strike. They decided they would not have sex. They will not open the legs. Everything closed. Closed bedrooms, closed legs. So maybe this is something. Okay, nobody cares if I'm on sex strike because I've done it, but nobody cares. But I mean, no, but really. But those of you that have somebody in your life, what happens? I mean, we should do something as radical and as drastic. Are you for a sex strike? We're like, I don't know. Okay, maybe it was not.
But yeah, it is good though. And I think it's important also in all of this that you're talking about being heard, being seen, being valid. And let's do that also here now, that you really listen to somebody, really hear. Because, yeah, look at even the Norwegian Prime Minister. She came out with a sustainable report back, I don't know, 35 years ago, about the climate change. Did anyone hear it? Not so much. But it wasn't like women they were there. They've talked about it for years and years. So let's hear each other. It starts with us. let's feel each other, let's value each other, and it's all going to be good.
And refer to each other. Refer. Say, Maria said this.
Yeah.
Valentina said this. Men are great in doing that. Refer
Very,
to each
very,
other.
very
Oh,
good.
Christina, exactly as you said 5 days ago. You said, oh, genius.
And to stand up, and again, everybody here congratulating you for being here. And thank you for this awesome panel. These ladies are here, and you can meet them and talk to them also in the coffee break, because I think we need to do that in order to keep this program more or less on time. And I don't know if all of you are here all the time, but I think maybe you leave a little early, Aradna, and you will come and go, I think. But Valentina maybe also come and go. But they are here now. So we are now going to the coffee break. So I would like to thank you for this time together. And then in half an hour, or something like that, 25 minutes, there are workshops. How do they know where the workshops are going to be? Where?
The workshops are just the neighboring rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, so find the workshops in the neighboring rooms. And do they know where the workshops are? Yeah. Okay, you figure it out. One message.
Camilla. Hi, just one message before you leave, and that's for those on Saturday. If you want to join the guided tour with Laura Rizzi, and Laura is waving over there, please register at the WIN desk. Thank you. Enjoy your coffee break, and I think workshop starts at 4:15.